guys, so today I'm just going to show you the beginning steps of getting started with diamond paintings. So when you receive your painting, it's going to be rolled up, so it's going to be obviously not flat and hard to work with. So I suggest the first thing that you do is flatten it as best as possible. I do this by rolling it on the side of my table, the opposite direction, so that way it kind of flattens. You can also pull the cellophane back and then place it back in place. Sometimes that can flatten the painting for you. You can, if you want to, like overnight, set it under books, but obviously you have to wait a night. If you want to start right then, it doesn't really help. So I suggest doing it this way. It flattens it so you're able to work with it. So for storing my beads, they do supply you with little baggies, but I personally like to use this Elizabeth Ward bead storage tray. You can get a couple different ways. They come with like the larger, as you see, the medium size, and there's even a bigger size that probably holds double of those two larger ones you see there. And then obviously the small ones. You can get ones that's an assorted tray, or you can get ones that are just all of the little ones. I have one that's assorted and then two full ones with the littler size. I label mine with a Dymo label. I just cut them out and place them on the plastic. Now you can Sharpie label them, but if you do that, I suggest that you cover the Sharpie with tape, so that way you don't rub the Sharpie off and then can't remember what number the beads are. So because I'm only working with one painting right now, I'm not going to label those anymore descriptively. If I was working with two different paintings that had one twice, I would then take the top number of the painting and put it behind. I'd put 1- and then or tree. I'd put 1- tree or 1- cat if I'm working on a cat painting, so that way I can differentiate between the two color beads. So in your kit, you're going to get an applicator. You might get one like that with with a tip, and then sometimes they come with a plastic tip on the other end. That is so you can do multiple beads at one time. If you have a lot of one color and you have like a row of 10, you can then place like 5 beads in a row and place 5 at a time. Personally, I do not use those a lot. Very rarely do I use it. I just like to place one at a time. You also get those tweezers. They might be like that, or they might be silver kind, which I don't have here at the shop. You also will get the pink sticky not adhesive. It's just a sticky thing that'll stick your bead to place the bead or gem. So you can see the two different sizes. There is another size. I do not have it. If anything, that's the one I most use, the one that I don't have. So there's a larger, a medium, and then a small. You can get a pencil grip to hold your applicator if you want. I do sometimes I don't. So you will get a tray. Sometimes it'll be a closed tray, sometimes it'll be open. So that way it might be white. There's a couple different kinds out there. It just depends on what kind of kit you get. I use a couple different ones throughout the process just so I can hold a couple different colors and not have to keep going back and dumping beads back into the trays. For my adhesive, instead of this pink, I do use Blu Tack. I will link that in the description below. It works a lot better. I don't have to change out as much, and that's going to last me a very long time, so it's cheap. So next, what you want to do is organize your beads, whether it be in these containers. I've used a couple different containers for bead storage, but this has to be my favorite. I just highly suggest this one. You can use little baggies, but that's kind of a pain in the butt each time. But you know, obviously, if you don't want to spend the money on a kit and you're only going to do one of them, I would just use the baggies probably. So I'm going to organize these beads and be right back.
until we make it to paradise.
I will also say when putting your beads into the container and getting all of the beads out of the plastic, it is easier to cut off the full top. If you just cut off a little side or like a corner, I've noticed that a lot of static builds up, and it's harder to get the beads out at that point. So if you cut the whole top off and kind of like open the bag a little bit, it's much easier to funnel those in there. As you noticed, I just dropped a whole bunch of them. It's easy to pick up with your fingers. They do put extra beads into the containers or into the packaging for the common fact that a lot of people lose some beads in the process. So they do put it. I always end up with a ton of extra beads at the end of it. Very seldom do I end up with just enough beads. So sometimes if that happens, it's because they only supplied about 20 beads, because there's probably only 20 beads that go into the painting. I have had a couple times as well where I've purchased the painting and it didn't come with a set of beads. At that point, you might want to find somebody on Etsy. I can link a supplier in the description of someone who does supply beads sold separately. So alright guys, now that I'm done organizing, I am ready to start applying beads to the painting. Please check out my other video for how I get started and subscribe for more video tutorials like this. Thanks!